Welcome to Charting Cryptos, Commodities, and Currencies. We're going to jump first, as we always do, into the cryptocurrencies. We jump first in 24-hour-a-day Bitcoin. What do we see going on? Well, those of you who follow the show every day, we talk about the crypto ETF that we track. This is real. This is the Bitcoin crypto EFT. This is the real Bitcoin. And of course, it's priced at Bitcoin's price. It's not the ETF, which again tracks Bitcoin while the market's open. What we see happening with Bitcoin, similar to what we see with the Bitcoin ETF, we see it breaking its prior trend line. Nothing exciting because that first week beginning the 19th of June, things popped up and really just slid sideways since then and popping down after the end of last week. So again, we want charts that are easy to track and actually give you the ability to do something. But where you see things pop up and give you, not much of an ability to gain anything, this one was okay. This one not, this one not. And again, 2 weeks, not helpful. Here's one again, didn't really work, just about reached its high the first week. We need something that looks like the S&P 500 chart, SPY, and QQQ, things that give us the ability to see real movement and jumping. You want charts that work. You just can't chart any and every ETF stock, cryptocurrency, whatever, because if they don't move in discernible patterns where you can use Heikin-Ashi candlesticks, volume, and trend lines and 3 time frames to help you chart the move, it just doesn't work. So it's more like gambling, and we don't gamble. We want things much closer to a sure thing for our practice trades. Let's move on to Ethereum. Same kind of thing here. You can see where, again, popped up and then this week pushing through that trend line. Same on the 2-day chart and the half-day. What about the top 10 cryptocurrencies? And again, it's weighted as per market share, Bitcoin being the big one. Saw where things punched up high last week. This week, not reaching that high yet. Again, if we look at this half-day chart, we can see where that happened back on Thursday of last week, and then just sort of sliding sideways up some right now on all of these cryptocurrencies, but not all these 3 cryptocurrency charts that we're tracking, but not all that much. That is where we are on cryptos, waiting for discernible patterns to help us with trading. So far, the best to at least try to track something more accurately appears to be this BITW. So again, encourage you to practice these things, practice, trade them, use the skills that you learn at Charting Wealth, and of course, apply them. Study to show yourself approved and practice trade as often as you can. Now, let's move from cryptocurrencies to commodities. We're going to start off with corn. You all heard that the Russians stopped the grain deal where they're allowing Ukraine to sell grain through its port. They have stopped that, and consequently, one would expect there might be some change in price when it comes to grain. And of course, this week, what do you see? See a lot of up movement, pulling back some, but you do see an up week after 3 down weeks in corn. We'll see where that's taking us. And let's just go straight from corn to soybeans. Soybeans have been continuing to go up for the last many weeks since they bottomed rather nicely. They have appreciated okay. What about wheat? Well, same thing we said after some lackadaisical movement in wheat. 3 weeks up, several weeks down, 3 weeks, almost a 4th week, about the same, and then spinning over, moving down for 2 weeks and now back up. I don't like the chart at all, but that's what wheat's up to. Maybe it's getting ready to bound. We already looked at soybeans. Let's go to the United States Gas Fund. Since we saw gas bottom here most recently on the week beginning the 1st of May, we saw things not hit as much of a bottom then and then slowly turn around and start building. These last 3 weeks moving up nicely, up for the day alone, 1.53%. Don't like that for the increased cost of filling up our tanks, but that's what's happening with gas. Consequently, oil also moving up these last 3 weeks, oil down some for the day. And we see it's not reached the high of last week yet. Silver, we've been talking about that since last week. Silver went up then bounded over down, gave us a couple of weeks of trying to do something and move somewhere, and then down, and now we see it. Looks like it might be catching a little fire. That is it for the commodities that we have for you this week. Now we're going to move over to currencies, and we're going to start with the English pound. We see, I'm sorry, not with the pound, with the euro. Pound's next. We saw it again, okay chart here where things are rolling. We saw where things bottomed. We saw some decent activity here where it hit its most recent low with this high volume. Next week, just sort of continued on that same mark, not reaching that lower low, and then turned around. And since then, 1, 2, 3, sort of a spinning top week, but still green, 4 and 5, moving up. So we do see for the last day and a half some down movement. But again, the euro, continuing to sort of keep it out there. So we'll keep an eye on that, see if it's going to, move above this level of, let's see, somewhere in the neighborhood of 103, 104, something like that. See if it can bound above it. Now we'll go to the British pound. We can see where the pound, again, not as good a chart, but we do see some decent movement here over these last few weeks since things bottomed back on the week beginning 22nd of May, slid sideways, and then started off in a tear. Again, not making a higher high this week yet, but again, starting off further up, which is good, above that prior trend line. We look at where the yen is. We talked about, the yen hitting its bottom. Now, we saw this high spike, but then it continued down lower. It doesn't make us feel comfortable about the value of that volume there, but did slow down. Spinning top, rotated over last week, trying to move up again this week. Lastly, we'll go to the Swiss franc. What do we see there? Again, we see a little bit higher than average volume when the Swiss franc started to go green and take off. And of course, last 2 weeks, we have nice candles. Again, all the currencies down a little bit for the day, but the ones that we've looked at moving up nicely. That's it, folks. Thanks so much for being with us. Always love to hear from you. CW@chartingwealth.com. Be sure to go to our channel, subscribe to our daily email. We send out to you special training in that email every day, plus a link to our daily review once a week, weekly review and forecast on Fridays, and of course all sorts of good, helpful information in the show notes. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.